Biggie, I know a General Abe, a Yoruba man, who was laid off at 50 something. Oh, yeah. You see, you don't do that to the system. Says you must be this age and you will be pulled out. It is a ceremony. Yeah. You stand on the jeep in your full regalia and you'll be pulled out of the army. They try you for what you did wrong.
I ask this question.
You don't just use wishful thinking to say you want to do into that system.
You know why we are saying this? They did not perform at the end of the day. What if they had performed? We will not be singing all these songs.
History will still have noted. History will still have noted that yes, it was like a revolution. That's where you bring a revolution in. It means it is not a normal evolution. Yeah, normal evolution says from stage 1 you go to the cycle 2, you go to cycle 3. But when you call it a revolution, it means there is a revolt involved. You did it and it worked. But when you now constituted institution, the first thing we must look at is read the statutes that established military formations. In the United States, if you're the American president and you want to press because of the American people, that is it, because he has his own rules too, that there must get to a point where you will say no to your commander-in-chief if he's going out of way.
Dr. Andrews, you keep shaking your head. What's your take on security?
Even this Larry that is talking, he has, I'm sure he owns an organization.
Private.
Whether it is private, doesn't matter.
No, you don't.
Wait, let me
said
land.
Institutions. That is the thing.
But we are talking about
what has created the greatest problem for us in Nigeria under this present administration is the dipping of hands into institutions to rustle its nest. Hello, you know that
I'm just citing an example. You said there are seniors, so it should be hierarchical. It shouldn't be hierarchical.
Dr. Andrews, you're not.
It's going to work for him.
Hierarchical.
Dr. Andrews, you're not.
It's going to work for him.
You're not getting this.
I'm not missing it. He is saying that he retired some senior. That's what he said.
Hello, sir.
He said it's
institutional. Hello, sir. We are not
yes. There are institutions, and institutions there are laws. I mean, there are rules.
Hello. I decide who works with me. I decide who works with me. That's why they will retire the senior officer. Have you not been hearing that? They retire those who are above them and they choose the one he wants to work with. It doesn't happen just this administration. It's been
of IGP. And let me now tell you, see, because we don't have to it's gone. The IGP
will not be saying this.
Dr. Andrews, Dr. Andrews, I love the way you do that.
To your field, and that is the economic policies of the government. Is the debt profile due to poor economic policies or the government's inability to manage the economy? That's your take.
As I've said, is the latter.
Okay.
It did not manage it very well. It had good policies, but they were not well managed.
Policies? Good policies?
That's what we are talking about.
Economic
policies.
Yes.
You said it.
You said he had good economic policies?
Yes, but they were poorly managed. For example, look at what happened to power. There was special grid intervention.
Okay.
Fashola then was saying that there is a clause that says they cannot change the situation they met. That clause would have been, if I were Buhari, I would have interrogated that clause and made it to change because it led to his failure on that.
That's a rule.
Then you look at Agric. Anchor Borrower was there. There was this Agric for Food and Job program, National Livestock Transformation Program. What I'm trying to say, he had a series of policies, but unfortunately they were poorly executed. So on paper, good to go, but implementation almost nil. That's why we are giving a knock on that now.
All right.
Even on digital economy, you can see what happened, just what's happened with what Emefiele did. It's a very good policy, but it was seriously bastardized by the person who was supposed to be on top of it. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
There are good things on paper, but you don't put a horse on paper running. It will remain there.
All right. Let's also examine the president's promise to tackle corruption. We need not forget billions were stolen from the nation's coffers, animals swallowing currencies, etc.
It's not. You see, when Buhari was coming in, I was taken into, we believe a corruption czar is coming. Somebody who will kill it to the hilt.
Okay.
We were thinking so. Little did we know that we'll be giving a God the reverse. So it disappointed a lot of people. even as I'm speaking now, I don't see any fight against corruption. Not that he himself, you understand, we knew who he is, but he allowed this thing to happen under his watch. That's the most painful thing. He didn't do anything about commanded a gunner right on the spot, but nothing happened. So his lethargic approach to security caused a lot of insecurity for us.
But I guess he told you, ab initio, that old age will limit his performance. He told you that, and that was before the first election.
That is what it means. Once he emerges, it's like we have all voted for him.
All right. Larry, how well, would you rate the performances of...
That those who are supposed to catch... So, if somebody was supposed to catch a thief, and you saw stolen stuff in his hands, how do you now say that person could do well or deliver? We're in a nation where the accountant general that's supposed to tell us everybody that has stolen, at this kind of mindset that our people brought about being qualified to hold posts. I am not apologetic about me at all. I think merit should always count. So we failed because
back to my point.
We allowed somebody, I don't know the word to use, that is accused of to settle people. Okay, you just stay there. We'll put some funds. This one is we call it humanitarian. Let's use a ministry. Say, okay, you have that, and you put your person there, and they now start giving food to students who are home during COVID, and they took the money, and there's no action against such. Nobody's questioning it, because how can you say I make bold to say that the so-called palliatives during COVID-19 in Nigeria, I did not see it on paper. And so when it comes to score sheet, when you are talking about the score sheet, that my friend will just go to vouchers of payments and say, okay, what did we do? Okay, in January we approved this, payment was made. Whether bothered to, because the corruption issues are
the pyramid.
The pyramid. Nobody bothered to even interrogate further. We just saw that, okay, they did the scaffold of wood and put some bags and took pictures. But you see, people had gotten tired of seeing such. So, because one, humongous loan was taken to say they want to encourage production of rice, and go and Google how to produce rice. So they must make the grains are nowhere. And so at some point from the books that people who work of those things, the places it went to, that is when you are doing a thorough job of it. I've heard a special advisor say, oh, when we got to power, we now discovered we couldn't find any files on all those projects. You see, these are so many things that are going on in the process of governance that people should start talking about. Well, what I'm driving at is that when you do not look, at some point you are saying, okay, for the office of president, people should have this degree. You must, because it is the minister that will present a paper to Mr. President when the president cannot even personally understand the details of what is embedded, and cannot ask intelligent questions to say, look, this I question. Somebody was telling us that, okay, there was a time in this state of ours that you suggest something to Abakonde, you tell you the history, but now might not even be enough to do what that is, because he has debt. I think when people lack debt, you cannot deliver on the job of governance. That's why they say people should take exams before we just tell them. So honestly,
there was this mistake I think the president did. I think when he got on board, he believed on the euphoria of what he enjoyed in his last time in governance, trusting that when they get that, they would just do right things at the right time. So much so that even when they were disappointing, he did not even see it. He believed he had the best. Unfortunately, he is apologizing now, saying perhaps when it's time to go, he is now saying, but it's too late to right the wrong. So for me, I concede that he didn't do well as far as that is concerned, because as we say in Yoruba, agbára òjò lóhùn ò ní léwu.
State economic empowerment development strategies, federal economic. So these things are there. A situation where the first 4 years it was sidelined, unless the people who follow Ashwaju don't want to be sincere about it, until they were going for the elect that it was like Rotimi Amechi could not really pull the crowd. They called Ashwaju back. Do you understand? Now, these are some of the things that, in the course of pussyfooting, as a good party man, Asiwaju too kept quiet while they were doing those policies that were not right. You get? There are things I think we should start.
Those people are they should not think it will be like our man Friday. He's going to make sure that he speaks out. If you are the one not making his situation to move on, he will shout your name.
As a matter of fact, I'm not even talking to Asiwaju now. I'm talking to people around him to speak up if he does things wrong.
Let them speak
they
up.
Kept quiet and it affected Nigerians adversely.
In fact, as I am talking
two things
now,
I am saying is that, look, you might say you are on the same page. Are you reading the same book? If you look at some people, they believe Buhari his own scripted by a why did they keep talking? Even his wife talked about a cabal.
Of course.
That means the cabal is a close-knit they executed effectively with state funds. In some places, they gave some people funds for some states, about 19. You understand that they will allow ranches, and then within they gave them money, and it's fair.
I'm speaking truthfully now. Being afraid of what he could do when he gets to power. Some of them ran out of the country. Some of them, some of them who has done something untoward, they started making corrections, expecting that they are in trouble. Then they waited a while. They realized that, wait a minute, nothing is happening. He fell ill, came back, nothing is happening. They said those who went out came back. Those who are righting the wrong went back to the wrong up to today. So what are we talking about?
This brings me to the next question, that in contemporary workspaces, workers can be made to resign or even fired for incompetence so as to move the organization forward. Would this have been an option for Mr. President with series of failed promises?
It's a serious option. I always use you as an example. I'm sure you will not take nonsense here. I was saying something in the morning. We call it succession planning. You cannot just be here. You'll be wishing that the young ones also, because as you are there, you are aligned there so that you can correct, isn't it? It's not that you will resign because of them. No, they have to be there while you teach them, and you will be watching. You make correction, isn't it? If somebody doesn't do well, if you use it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, you yank him off. Put another person that will deliver. That's how to do it. Then you give queries where you have to give it. But he didn't
do that.
He did not do that. Let's call a spade there. So it's highly apologetical and regrettable that he did not live up to expectations.
Larry, mixed reactions have trailed the president's apology to Nigerians. Some are of the opinion that it is tenable. Others call it a smack of hypocrisy. In your opinion, should it just be a game of tendering apologies? So there are, reparations to be made?
Tendering apologies in human space, okay, because as human beings we can make mistakes and then say I'm sorry. You may not have the capacity to redress some of those things you had done wrong, and it might have been an act of omission and not necessarily a commission, but in the most, some of these appeared deliberate to people, and you will see that immediately those apologies were rendered, some groups were immediately saying no, we're not taking it. Don't bring your apologies to us, just go. Now forget about personal issues. If you look at the situation of what happened to El-Zakzaky, to those who have discerning minds, it goes deeper than, okay, there was a crisis or riot or whatever. Because every law, everything that has to do constitutional courts and everything, pursued and said, let him go. And nothing was done. And in the same vein, is from the north. El-Zakzaky is also from the north. The guy that talks to bandits, that knows bandits enough to be able to negotiate with them, was caught. And at some point, the state, he was caught from outside. And you went into his house and saw humongous amount of foreign currencies and the rest of it. And the state at some point was saying they were not going to try him. So, is the state not going to be suspected of being sponsors of terror? Families were caught on the train, coughing out as much as 200 million per person. And that person was caught, and the reprimand did not happen. And El Zakzaky, because there was a riot by followers, has been in jail since. And El Rufai was things that we do that makes people distrust our actions. No matter how we want to paint it as good or holistic. And so if you are the one that is now making people doubt your sincerity, how then do you want to convince people that you mean well? How do you convince people that you mean well?
Doctor, he has not done anything good.
He has. You see, like I was mentioning, I told you I reeled out the KPIs and KPE expectations. You realize that implemented it and it was working until we had this interruption, that's the right word, by some Nigerians who are doing bad things to the rail and stuff like that, which is highly unfortunate. It's only in this country I'll see that people will try to move against their government and then blame government at last. So for me, as far as infrastructure is concerned, then road, he did something. Then air and seaport, he did a lot. Then there was something even, one policy he brought about infrastructure in 2021. Then he has this voluntary assets and income educative scheme. He had that about dry port, seaport. He did something about that. He introduced Nigeria Center for Disease Control, local procurement by government, submission of annual budget estimate on time, and so on and so forth. I'm just trying to read that.
It is easy for like that. It's easy for Ifemi Adesina or anybody that wants to do PR for the government to pick list of documents of what we have released. Have they commissioned the dry port in the north that they have done?
The answer is no.
No. Now let me tell you, in the United Arab Emirates, a desert. Kaduna had always had. They just did. I said the new one. They said they started. The people, they are not angels. They are not ghosts. These are the things you look at and you talk about. I will tell you, if he enters Niger Republic today, they will come with drums and because he started and finished. We are doing a railroad to Maradi. They did it. So that is what you talk about delivery. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in the last 6 years, we are told will be completed fully in April. This is April that is gone, and the road is still there. And you begin to wonder, what stage was it when Jonathan left? What is the situation even towards Niger? Because that's the push of where the heart of the government was. You see, we are not being sentimental. We just have to tell ourselves the bitter truth now. That, look, we have traveled a road less traveled in the last 8 years. And if we must make a change, we must start thinking outside the box.
Yes, what we have tried has not worked positively. That's why we have voted.
You agree with that?
I agree. That's why we have voted for another person.
Okay.
I said something. Let me repeat it.
All right.
The same mother that gave birth to Tai gave birth to Kehinde. I'm referring to that mother now as the political party. Both of them are coming from. But I've seen Tai Lulu that was wretched, very poor, and Kehinde that was living in affluence, was stinkingly rich. The same mother, the same gene, the same sperm. So we should not think that as it was, so shall it be. In fact, it was everything for you, but you just felt you needed to change and you kick her out. The next wife you have will kill you. And conversely too, if your wife is very bad, things were not going when you did, if you send her out, the next person will really bring something. That is the philosophy I want us to believe in. So and God's willing.
So you're saying, so what are you saying now? We kicked out Buhari and Tinubu is going to kill us?
He is condemned to perform. He is condemned to perform conversely to what Buhari did. Because I don't have it two ways. Okay. That we had a bad government, another one will be as bad. No, it doesn't. Even God will not let it happen.
Larry, talk to Tinubu.
I'll just say I wish him well because you recall when Yar'Adua won an election in Nigeria, he was the first to say that the process was flawed. That is sincerity of purpose.
Yeah,
that if you don't come first to say the truth about that, then it means you want deceit to continue.
I disagree.
You must first of no. I'm making practical statements now
mean.
that Yar'Adua told the Nigerians that
his
as a matter of fact, he knows that the election that brought him into power was flawed. That is the first thing
he said
that somebody told us that made some form of truth in him. And immediately, if somebody could be as hot, coming to talk to us, coming to tell us whatever we want, he will look at it and he will give us some of the things that will make effect, cushion the effect of what they are. And suddenly they kept calm. Nigeria was able to extract its oil.
So what is he saying now? I don't understand.
So what's your own disagreement?
My disagreement here is that we cannot say that because the president, we cannot say that. In fact, we shouldn't even think like that.
He's not saying that.
I did not say that.
So what is he saying? He said because he did not say like Yar'Adua did that the election that brought him out was faulty.
An administration must start with sincerity.
Sincerity and I don't know.
Excuse me, have they not started with that? People have said there is 100% proof. The election that brought us should not be negative in our thoughts about the incoming government. We should be very optimistic. If he now didn't act that, I'll be the first to shout.
I don't think so.
No way.
Dr. Andrews, you said
I don't believe so. I don't have to deny.
He's just condemned
so
to
don't
perform.
worry, don't worry.
0913-000-1049
and 0809-333-1049. Please join us in this discourse. Good afternoon, somebody. What's your name? Good afternoon. What's your name?
8 years was almost like a wasted time in governance. The man was just like rudderless, like clueless. He took power and never knew what to do. That to give us a progressive and revolutionary change. That's endowed. God has endowed us. We don't even have to start asking God to pay Ọlọ́run wá ṣàánú fún wa, Ọlọ́run wá gbà wá. Ọlọ́run ti gbà wá. He has given us every natural resources, human resources. This man played an ethnic card. It was an ethnic agenda. Anything that is not Fulani, he doesn't want to hear about it.
All right.
Thank you. What do we have to do with that?
Thank you.
In this modern day, we are still talking about Ruga. We're still talking about people actually rearing cows on the streets. Oh no! I pray something will happen to this country.
All right. Thank you very much.
Just up and work for the changes.
Thank you, Mobayodele. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
Big Daddy.
Solomon.
Hello?
Where are you calling from?
I think Dr.
Solo.
Where was that?
Yeah.
See, for me, I listened to our two and the anchor as well.
Solomon,
where are you?
Where?
I didn't drink in power. That is one thing about Nigeria. We can start from today to eternity until they want to say this. People always talk about prayer for Nigeria. We've been praying. When we want to choose those people, we don't pray. By the time they start misbehaving, we resort to prayer. And our prayer will not do anything for us. I just pray, as we always do, I pray God will help us in Nigeria. Thank you.
You have also prayed.
He has also prayed.
You 60 minutes already. You keep wondering. It's over. Ordinarily we are supposed to treat this in
phases.
Yes, in batches and in phases. And we shall do that.
All right.
We started with a security and economy today. Next week is likely to be more of
Okay.
education, infrastructural development, and more. And the two of you must still be ready, please.
Anytime.
Please.
Anytime.
We'll be with you. On behalf of all of us, I say good afternoon, Oshun, once again, and good afternoon, Nigeria. Stay tuned.